Hey friends, welcome back to the camper. Well, today what I wanted to discuss with you is how to make your own sourdough starter even if you don't have a scale. But I have a great technique that will help you to be very successful. And also we are going to take a short garden tour of our little container garden and give you an update on how everything's going. So I'll see you back in just a second and we'll get started. Okay, so I've had a lot of questions on how I started my sourdough starter and also why it was so successful. What did I use? What was my technique? So I'm going to show you. I actually start my starter with a good organic rye flour. Now this one is from Arrowhead Mills. I have used Bob's Red Mill in the past as well. They're both equally as good. You want to look for a dark organic rye flour. That's going to help you be successful, and the reason that you want to do that is that rye has an extra amount of the enzymes that the yeast, the wild yeast that's in the air, that they love. It's really going to encourage them to be prolific. So that's a first point in having a successful starter. And then the second thing that I do is I actually use unsweetened pineapple juice, and it actually has fructose in it, which is going to help feed those wild yeast, but it's also slightly acidic. And what that's going to do is it's not so acidic that the yeast are not able to survive, but it's actually just acidic enough that the bad bacteria cannot thrive. So that's going to help you have a good clean starter and keep it happy and get it going on its own a little bit quicker. So I'm going to measure everything out, walk you through those steps, and you'll be successful in making your starter as well. So let me show you Sarah. That's my starter. I've got her in a 1.5 pint mason jar. That works real well for me. I actually have neglected her a little bit. The last couple of days I have not fed her. We've just been kind of busy and things going on, and it slipped my mind. And she developed a dark clear liquid on top, and that's called hooch. That's a clear sign that your starter is hungry. So some people stir it back in. I don't. I pour it off and discarded about half of what was in the jar and replaced it with fresh flour and water up to about the same amount. Stirred it very well. You want to stir really well because you want to aerate it. And I'll just put her back over there to go to bed, and she'll wake up and get all bubbly here pretty soon, and we'll be good to go. So I wanted to talk about something real quick before I show you how we do this. I don't weigh my ingredients. A lot of people do, and that's very successful for them, but the lifestyle that I live, I'm kind of we're kind of going different directions a lot of times, and it's just easier for me to go ahead and take a second and take care of my starter, and rather than dragging out the scale and everything. And it works great for me, and I know a lot of us live busy lives and things are going on, and if you think you have to drag a scale out and have to be so precise every time, it's a little discouraging. That's a great technique. Don't have anything against it. I just had to do something that works for me. So I'm going to show you what I do to start. In this pint jar, I've measured a 1/2 cup of the dark rye organic flour. So what we're going to do is we're going to add enough pineapple juice just to the consistency of thick pancake batter. And also you want everything at room temperature. You want especially pineapple juice. Well, your flour too. I know some of us store our flour in the refrigerator, set it all out, let it come to room temperature, and that's just going to help activate a little bit quicker. Okay, so what we're going to do, let's see, can you see? I think you can see there fine. Is I'm going to start stirring. I'm going to put a little bit in there. I didn't measure that pineapple juice. That might have been 1/4 cup in the little measuring cup. But we're going to stir this up. And one thing that you do want to do, and by the way, if you put a little too much pineapple juice, just add a little bit of flour. It's not a problem. Okay, so I've got just a paste going on right now. What I might have to do is get a little bit more pineapple juice. Let's see if you can see. That's just a paste. Not quite thin enough yet. It's getting close. Okay, so get you up here where you can see I did a little bit more pineapple juice. And that is about the consistency of a pretty thick pancake batter. And that's what you're looking for. Okay, so what we're going to do now, I'm going to walk you through the techniques. Of course, I can't do each day right now. So I'm just going to talk about them, what we're going to do. Another thing I want you to do when you do this, make sure there's no dry flour around the edges or on the bottom. And I do see a little bit on the bottom, so I'm going to do a little bit more. Make sure. And the more you stir when you start this, the better, because you're aerating it. Okay, I think we've got that pretty good. So I'm just going to set it here for just a second, and we're going to talk about the next steps that you need to do with this. Okay, so what we've done is we've taken a half a cup of our rye flour, and we've added somewhere around a quarter cup of pineapple juice, maybe a tad bit more, but you want to bring it to the consistency of pretty thick pancake batter. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to put a cover over it, but just a good cotton cloth, a good laundered cotton cloth is fine. Okay, so what you're going to do is, say you made this in the morning and you set it, you want to set it in a warm area somewhere. Ideal would be 75 to 80 degrees. A lot of people set them on top of their hot water heater, set them on top of their refrigerator. At home, at the cabin, I have a pilot lit oven. It's perfect. I set it in there and it just happy. That's sourdough starter's happy place. But somewhere around 75 or 80 degrees. But when you're starting a new starter, you want to take the time 2 or 3 times a day. A chopstick or a skewer, a wooden chopstick or skewer works great for this. You want to stir vigorously, and what you're doing is you are aerating that starter, and that makes a very happy starter. So on day 1, we've got our mixed like this, and we're going to put a cover over, or he. I tend to call them ladies. I like lady names for them. But you're going to set her down for a little bit in a warm area, but don't forget to stir 2 or 3 times a day. So on day 2, I had to make notes because it's been a while since I started a starter. Day 2, you're going to do the same thing. We're not going to discard. We're going to add a half a cup of flour and enough pineapple juice to bring that to the consistency of thick pancake batter. Okay? Day 3, this is when you discard. You're going to discard about a half a cup. You're going to add a half a cup of your rye flour and enough pineapple juice to bring it back to thick pancake batter consistency. On day 4, you're going to discard half. You're going to add your rye flour, but now we're going to change to distilled water or well water or purified water, just not tap water, because of the chlorine in it. The chlorine in it can stop that. We're actually fermenting. This is a fermentation process, and the chlorine in tap water can destroy all the hard work that we've done up to this point. So you want to use a good clean distilled water, filtered water, something like that. Rainwater, filtered rainwater, that would be great. And that's day 4. Don't forget to stir. Day 5, you're going to repeat. You're going to discard half, and you're going to go with your distilled water. Now, this water is a little thinner consistency than pineapple juice, so you want to go easy with it. You want to go easy because you'll get that consistency really thin really quick. Okay. Now on day 6, day 4, day 5, day 6. Now you may see some bubbles day 2. They may not be the actual fermentation bubbles. I didn't see any. Using this method, I didn't really see any activity till about day 4. And a lot of that's going to depend on the temperature, time of year, humidity. So many factors go in to make that. So don't get discouraged. Just if you're on day 4 and or day 3 and you're not seeing any activity, just hang in there. It's just time. So don't get discouraged. But I think we're on day 5, day 6. All right, on day 6. If it's very, very active, if you're watching it now, you can mark when you do it. You can take a Sharpie or a rubber band. A lot of people will put a rubber band so they know. And then now, I would normally take my spatula and clean the sides down so I could kind of see better and know how much she rises, and make sure that we're getting a good fermentation. But you can put a rubber band before you, or right after you feed, and then you'll be able to see as she rises and falls how much you got, how active she is. Okay, so on day 6, they say that you can maybe use her. She's very, very active. I tend to go to day 7, 8, 9, or even 10, because you want to set yourself up for success. You don't want to set yourself up for failure. So just be patient, especially now in the summertime. You can go day 6, day 7, and use half that starter for one of your recipes or something. But I would suggest that you go a little bit longer, because that's just going to help you be more successful. Okay, so that's it. That's how you start your sourdough starter. Now, what you're going to do to maintain her is every day, if you bake a lot, okay, and I'll talk about discards in just a second as well. If you bake a lot, you can leave her out and just use her every day or every other day or whatever. And days that you don't use her, be sure. Well, you're going to feed her every day, but if you're not baking or anything, you're going to have to discard. People say, why do I discard? Well, if you keep adding and she keeps growing, pretty soon this jar won't hold her. Pretty soon a half-gallon jar wouldn't hold her, and you're not able to use it all at one time. So you discard. Now, let's talk about discards just a second, and I'll probably do a video on using discards, showing you some of the stuff that I do. But I'll tell you a little bit right now. Discards. Pancakes. Just take your basic pancake recipe, your basic from scratch pancake recipe, and just throw a half a cup starter in there. Makes a ton of, it does not have to be active necessarily. I mean, the discard, just whatever you're pulling off, because you got to have room to feed. You just throw that in the bowl. You don't have to do anything different at all. Just throw it in there with everything else. Stir it up. You may cut back your moisture just a tad. I haven't had to, but you may find that you have to. Makes a huge difference in pancakes. You know, sometimes when we cook pancakes, we have trouble getting them to get done in the center before the rest takes on before it burns. Even if we turn it down. When you add sourdough to that pancake batter, I don't know why, I have an idea, totally eliminates that problem. They cook evenly all the way through. I have not had a problem with uncooked dough batter in the center of my pancakes since I started using sourdough. One of my other favorite for using discards is banana nut bread. Same principle. Sometimes, now my husband tends to not like banana bread because it's kind of doughy and heavy. Throw a half a cup of your discard in your batter. When you make your banana bread, I say banana nut bread because in the South it's banana nut bread because you gotta have pecans or walnuts. It's pecans here. You throw that sourdough in that banana nut bread, and it just makes a world of difference. It's lighter. It cooks through and through really well. You don't change a thing. You don't change the time. You don't change anything. It's just an asset to have the sourdough in there. So try it sometime. I think you'll love it. Okay, so that kind of wraps this up. If I get a chance, we're going to be traveling a little bit for the next few days, but if I get a chance, I'm going to try to do an update and show you this starter on maybe day 2, 3, or 4, whatever day that I can. But I will leave the directions in the description box below. And if you have any questions, please feel free to comment and ask them, and if I can answer them, I would love to help you out on that. So, all right, so we're fixing to stop here, and we're going to walk out and look at the garden, and I'm going to show you some stuff going on out there. Now, this is a bush green bean, and it is doing absolutely wonderful. I'm really pleased with this. I've never grown green beans in a pot before, but there you go. You can see it. It's doing really good. And now this is a cow feeder tub, so this is a bigger tub, and this is our yellow squash. And if you see down in there, look at there, we have babies. And you can see that I've mulched everything, because one problem that you have with containers is they dry out really, really fast. And so that just kind of helps hold some of the moisture in a little bit, but you do have to be very attentive to the watering of pots of your plants in containers. Not overwater, but just consistent. Now this right here, this is a jalapeno. And you can see that it's doing very well. As a matter of fact, I cut one off yesterday that was just really, really good size, and I wanted to that was my first harvest. So I went ahead and did that. And you can see that it's mulched as well. Now, this is some more green beans in another pot. And they're mulched and they're doing really good. I'm just so tickled at how they're doing. Now, this is one of our tomatoes, and it's kind of looking like it might need water, and they do take a lot of water, and we got a good rain last night, but it may not have been enough, so I'll hit them this evening. But I want to show you something. If you look here on these leaves, you see the spots. What happened here is we were beginning to get a fungus, and living especially in the deep south with the heat and humidity, you're going to get a blight. It's just about nearly impossible to not get blight. But this, I wouldn't say that was blight. That's just a fungus. And so what I did was I took a gallon sprayer and I mixed about 2 to 3 tablespoons of hydrogen peroxide. And what that does, I saturated the plant down really well. And I also pruned and cut off the ones on the bottom that were the worst. But what that does is changes the pH where the fungus can't survive. This one had it as well, and I did the same thing. I actually sprayed it down as well a couple of weeks ago, and it just doesn't need anything else, I don't think. So this is a zucchini. This zucchini is actually in a cow feeder tub as well, and you can see we got one blossom fixing to open up. Okay, so I'm going to show you real quick. What we have back here is my peppers, and they're on the back side of the camper. And a tidbit about peppers, they need some protection from the hot afternoon sun. So that's why they're back here, and you can see that they are really, really thriving. So I'm real pleased with that. Now this is some little nasturtiums coming up. It was just a few seeds that I had, and a little tidbit about nasturtiums is the more you fertilize them, the more leaves you get, foliage. The less you fertilize them, the more flowers. So you might just want to keep that in mind. And if you look here, there's some more green beans that I planted a couple of weeks after the others, so maybe that'll extend my harvest some. I've got to mulch those now. They're up tall enough I can do that. Now, we'll just look at these real quick, go through my peppers. This is going to be an orange bell pepper. You can see that's really, really looking healthy, and we've got a few babies coming on, some more coming on. This is a giant Marconi. I have never tried these before. I'm very excited to see how they grow and how they turn out. They're going to be red when they're ripe, and I've never eaten one, so I'm looking forward to that. And this is a red bell pepper, and you can see it is really full. One thing that I did with my bell peppers, the soil, it is good compost, and I amended it with bone meal, a little bit of Epsom salt, and worm castings, and they really seem to be thriving on that. So I might have hit on something there. I'm real pleased with that. Now this is green bell pepper. I've got to tie these back. Okay, and then we've got a sweet banana pepper right there. And this is a small Tabasco that broke off in one of the storms that we had. But it seems to be coming back pretty good, and I know that it may have some influence on the sweet banana peppers, but that's okay. We like our Tabasco peppers to put in our pepper sauce, which brings me to the cow horn pepper, which is a hot pepper that I love to use to make my pepper sauce. Now, Southerners love pepper sauce to go on our greens and such as that, so I'm hoping to have a good harvest of those to make me several little bottles of that. And then one more thing I'm going to show you right here is another pot of green beans. So you can do it. You can grow vegetables in pots and be very, very successful. I'm very pleased. We're going to look down here real quick. Just some more, and just very, very happy. Well, I really enjoyed making this video, and I'm so glad you got to come along with me. I want to encourage you to get out there and grow something, make something. It'll make you feel better, especially in these kind of trying times that we're in today. But I want to leave you with these beautiful words. Even amongst everything that's going on around us, don't ever forget that your Heavenly Father loves you. And I'll see you on the next video. God bless.